Call this regular city council meeting of December 5th to order. Would you please call the roll?
Kistler,
Yes.
Coos,
Here.
Zingy,
Here.
Matani.
Here.
Flora,
Here.
Gas,
Here.
Finnegan,
Here.
Severson.
Here. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The Ketchikan City Council would like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional first people of this land in Ketchikan, the Tongass Tlingit people. Communications. What do we have for communications? Other than just the information from the,
Well, we have a revised motion for the executive
executive session.
session for staff. And there was a manager's report.
Okay, yeah, we have the managers report is Leon and motion. Okay. And then what do we have in regards? Is there anybody here to speak to the council tonight? A member of the public? Hearing, seeing none, we move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
It did move and seconded to consent. Any additions, or corrections? Hearing, seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you read the items?
Approval of minutes, regular city council meeting of November 21st, 2024, and amendment number 1 to contract number 2223 for the Public Defender Services, Leif A. Thompson.
Any discussion, comments? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Flora,
Yes.
Gas,
Yes.
Finnegan,
Yes.
Coos,
Yes.
Kistler,
Yes.
Zingy,
Yes.
You got me?
What about
and
Jay?
Matani. I was pushing your name here. Sorry.
Is there any unfinished business before us tonight? Hearing tonight, we'll move on to new business. 2024 Energy Efficiency and Compensation Block Grant Program, EECBG Memorandum of Agreement, MOA, between the Ketchikan Gateway Borough and the City of Ketchikan. Do I have a motion?
Your Honor, I move the City Council approve the 2024 Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant Program Memorandum of Agreement between the Ketchikan Gateway Borough and City of Ketchikan, and direct the city manager to execute the agreement on behalf of the City Council.
Second.
It has been moved in second. Delilah, what do we have here?
Mr. Mayor, back a few months ago, or almost last year, we received 72,000 about that in EECBG grants, and the borough received the same amount. We knew with those amounts, there wasn't much that we could do with that small amount, and decided that we would join forces with our funding. And so our project manager, Bob Diaz, has been working with Peter Amelon of the borough on how we can effectuate that. We've had great news when Southeast Conference received a grant to administer the program for heat pumps, and this would be a good investment on that side. So I'll actually turn it over to Bob, and he can give us more detail on the program. Essentially, this MOU is for the borough and the city to join together, use those funds for this program, and then move forward.
Mayor, council members, my name is Bob Diaz. I'm with the Public Works Department. In the packet that you guys got last Friday, I believe, I've updated it since then. And so what you're gonna see here is kind of the update, because I wasn't anticipating it going to you guys. But now I've updated it for additional information. So, you got it?
Any question? You got stuff coming up?
Yeah.
All right.
So I'll try to keep this as brief as possible, so. Okay, go ahead, next. So this is just to recap what Lila just said. Basically, the funding comes from the IIJA funding. Also, there's a bipartisan infrastructure law in 2021. Last year, the borough and the city agreed to kind of pool their resources, but we didn't really know what we were gonna do at the time, so Peter and I kind of got together and we were kind of hashing things out. And we came up with an initial program, which I think you guys heard about in April, to do like about 30 heat pumps in town for disadvantaged folks. But unfortunately, the DOE kind of rejected that based on the need to pay Davis-Bacon wages, which I think would have reduced the amount of heat pumps that we could deliver by a great amount. And so we made the decision with the DOE not to pursue that route anymore. Okay, next. The guidance, this was in the background of the thing that you guys received. I thought I'd bring up the program. Just the top line here, what they want us to do with the grant money was to reduce fossil fuel emissions. And then, so Peter and I spent a lot of time going through the eligible uses, and at the time, we came up with the heat pumps, because at the time, if you remember back last year, you know, fuel prices for diesel fuel in our community was over $5 a gallon. And that's all I heard from people was like, oh my God, how much does heat cost? And then, so we kind of looked into that and it was like, oh, wow. And looking around our community and looking around our in our state, I was like, okay, so heat pumps is a thing to do for Alaska. It does both things. It reduces cost for consumers and it also reduces emissions. Okay, next. So I'm sorry for the eyesore. But the top line here, Taylor asked me to change it, but I forgot. So this one here is about the third, fourth line down here is that. So we failed that, but we knew that heat pumps were the way to go. And then this summer, like indicated, and Lacey also mentions that the Alaska Heat Smart, which we had been talking to, scored big with Southeast Conference, and they got a very, very large CPRG grant, which is I think it was part of the IRA of 2022 for clean energy. And so they, as a result of that, it just kind of like, oh, we were trying to pursue getting home heat pump advisor here already in Ketchikan, but this renewed our efforts because we went from 30 heat pumps all of a sudden up to 500, which is a big amount. I think I talked to an installer last year, and he said that he had like 20 or 30 jobs, and that was his whole summer. You know, and so it's like, holy cow, how do we do 500 heat pumps in this town? And so, so it was like, okay, we need to get on the bandwagon sooner rather than later. So Peter and I really started talking with Alaska Heat Smart about how we might be able to use those funds to get to their program. Get their program operates here in Ketchikan soon. So, okay, next. And this is just something that I heard from when I was telling Andy he couldn't make it here tonight. But basically, this is a verbiage. I didn't want to mess it up, so I just wrote it down verbatim. So it looks like they were planning on hiring somebody now in town. And to do ACEs and their other programs, which are Alaska Carbon Reduction Fund and the Clean Heat Incentive Program. And those are all that are already available for different groups, and they have different benefits depending on who's applying. Okay, next. So basically, our proposal is just passing through the bulk of the funds to Alaska Heat Smart, so they can find somebody local to train and to become a home assessor in this area. And then we'll use remaining funds, about $13,000, to support Justice 40 Initiative, which is kind of a grant initiative / requirement. So, okay, next. The costs, $138,000. We're gonna do a professional services agreement, assuming if you guys choose to sign the MOA. And the DOE approves our application. That'll be for Alaska Heat Smart. That's for them to hire somebody, fringe benefits, training, get the next person started up. And these are just the benefits that I had kind of been espousing to anybody that was wanting to listen. There'll be just somebody that, well, you can read it there. Okay. And last slide. So the next steps, Peter and I submitted an application at the end of October with those two ideas in mind of hiring a home heat assessor and supporting the Justice 40 initiative. And then the borough went ahead and helped us. We co-created the MOU, and the borough approved it at their 11/18 meeting. If you guys approve it tonight, then I'll start working with Alaska Heat Smart to come up with an agreement. And then also, we're just going to kind of in a holding pattern until the DOE approves our application. We're kind of hoping that'll be in the next month or so, then try to get the funds to us in the next 3 or 4 months. And then after that, I've already had a conversation with KIC, who also received some funding from this program. And then I'll start, they've indicated that they were willing to support this objective as well, but nothing formal has been pursued. So that's it.
Any question?
5 minutes.
Yes.
Good job, thank
So
you.
I have a few questions. Basically, what exactly is a home heat? Is that somebody that's just going to assess the needs, or they're gonna assess the placement, or what exactly?
Did you give them that?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Sorry.
And then my second question is, are they going to be able to utilize local?
Installers.
Yes.
Answer your second question is yes. And that was one of the big failings of the first program, is that they were going to allow these local installers, but we would have to pay them Davis Bacon wages, which is substantially more than what they're, it will just reduce the number of homes that we can touch. And then with regard to what is a heat pump assessor, I gave
Oh, yeah.
Taylor a packet that we were going to print out and have for you to review. But basically what they do is they inform the consumer. You'll have a copy of this. I'm sorry, I totally forgot about it when I walked through the door. I should have reminded us. But basically what they do is they can go to your house and they're going to assess your home, like for installation, and then also for like electrical panel to see if it's ready to go. And they will work with the homeowner about like what do they want to do, how much money do they want to spend, and then they also identify. There's so many, like on that one sheet, there's so many opportunities. They'll look at your past years, like your last 3 years worth of utility bills, and they can help you figure out, okay, well, this is how much you're spending now. This is the kind of heat pump you're going to need, and this is how much it will possibly save you. And so they'll come in and they can also help a homeowner try to identify. Let me see if I can get this right. They'll help the homeowner review their quotes that they may get from different installers to make sure that they're not getting gypped. And so they're just kind of like an ombudsman, for homeowners, and somebody that they can go to. As part of the professional services agreement, we've already discussed it with Alaska Heat Smart, and they're supportive of if we get the funding in the next 2 or 3 months, if they could onboard somebody 2 or 3 months after that, then Alaska Heat Smart is going to do like some kind of a home show here in Ketchikan. I was thinking that, I haven't discussed this with too many people, but it would be like the idea that I have in my mind is that they would kind of facilitate home education, heat pumps 101. There would be Tongass Federal Credit Union there offering their loans. There would be installers there to kind of answer any questions or to hand out their cards. Then hopefully we can also get like 1 or 2 true believers that have already installed heat pumps in town that people already know, and they could go up there and they could, have you done that? And so you could say, wow, this is the next best thing since sliced bread, and so get a little, so Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? We do have a sample home assessment. It's about a 5 or 6 page, and we'll get that to you. And you'll see all the stuff that they do. And then they also identify, they're tied in with Alaska Heat Smart, and so they're gonna know, okay, hey, you're eligible for this federal credit, or you're eligible for this tax credit. Oh, if you get it done by this time, you're eligible for this, and so, and they're handing out incentives a lot right now, for people to make this switch. So,
Yeah. That's why I got mine. I had a 30% incentive.
you got a 30% incentive?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Kistler, essentially what will happen is this assessor can come into your house, say, this is the size you need, this is the system you need, this is what's gonna be most efficient for your facility, this is how much money you could save over time, and then introduce them to those opportunities. So for example, KIC and other tribes may be eligible to actually fund some of that project for you. So by partnering them with financing companies like Tongass, or giving them an opportunity to apply for other grant funding or incentive funding, they'll be able to do that all for you. So you're not sort of floating in the wind trying to figure it all out on your own.
So if I understand this right, the money that we're gonna combine is just for the assessment and counseling part of getting into the heat.
Yes, it's not installation.
It's not heat pumps itself.
70% of the time, the number that he gave me was that 100%, 70% of the time that they provide an assessment, a heat pump comes out the other end. And so that's
But
what
we're not paying for them.
but we're not paying for that installation.
Yeah, but so the heat pumps, we're gonna be applying to Southeast Conference, they got $38 million heat pumps around the state of Alaska or whatever they're gonna do. So we would apply to that program and we'd be able to give them our assessment so they know that we've already done the homework and.
Right, that's, if you look at that last slide, the very last slide of my presentation.
But there could be a cost to the homeowner based on,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Depending upon, if they are, so lots of people use, you'll see in the paper, AMI, average median income. And so they, disadvantage, we support the Justice 40 initiative. We're saying it's less than 80% AMI. And that's what we propose. They may come back and change that number. But if you're making I think Juneau, their program is, you go to the very, very, very last slide. Please.
Sorry. Justice 41?
No. I'm sorry, the one above it. So this is the what's on the homepage right now for Tongass Federal Credit Union. You'll see that they require a Alaska Heat Smart assessment in order to qualify for a loan. So the Alaska Heat Smart has worked with Tongass Federal Credit Union to do this in Sitka and in Juneau, but not yet in Ketchikan because nobody's down here doing those assessments.
so again, I think people are under the understanding that there's a $38 million grant to buy heat pumps and get them into houses. And so I don't know if they're thinking they're getting a free heat pump or if they're getting.
No, they're gonna get some kind of an incentive, either offered through Alaska Heat Smart or through the state or at the federal, like a tax credit.
Yeah.
And so I think, so if you, that one slide, he says on there, I might be missing a part of it. But if you're low income and you're paying a lot for your fuel bill, then those folks are going to probably receive.
Rise to
more.
the top, yeah.
Yeah, right, more than people that are, doing okay, have a big house. They're gonna, not do as well. So
But if I understand it right, when the Southeast Conference got the 38 million, it wasn't based on income. It was based on the removal of fossil fuels and emissions. So it didn't have anything to do with income in regards to the grant. They may put that out there to figure out who gets it first, but.
right.
Yeah, and how much they're gonna pay on. But if I remember right, it wasn't.
Yeah, I don't remember the details of the 38.6 million. I'm sorry.
Do you know that, are they gonna are they gonna, designate a brand? In other words, are they gonna say you're gonna have to buy this brand or that brand? Or-
They're gonna say, I think on their website, it says right now, it has to be from this list of
Vendors?
different of manufacturers, because they know that I think there's like some ones that produce ones that work well in the Arctic. There's other companies that produce ones that don't work well in Alaska, and they have experience.
And I think this is a learning process because there was a particular manufacturer that had a heat pump that provided for in-floor heating rather than air to air. And now they find that they have the wrong type of coolant refrigerant in them and they can't sell them into the market. So that one might just go away. Might be too much for them to change them out. And you know, if like a multi-story house could probably use 2 heat pumps, one in the upstairs and one downstairs. Is that feasible in this operation?
Well, I think that, Mr. Mayor, I think that the assessor would take that into account, and that would be part of their calculation when they figure out, how long the payback would be.
Yeah.
Then also how much incentive would be available to them.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Mayor, to pull on that thread a little bit more, the Southeast Conference money, the incentive that Bob's talking about, it can be anywhere from 4,000 to 8,500, depending. So that part is income based when they go through this process. So if I qualify as lower income, I could qualify for the full 8,000 of incentive. And then they call it an incentive because it's not something where we're going to pay for the whole thing.
Okay.
It's just an incentive for you to go there. So, but of course, that part is income based as far as if you get $4,000 or $8,000.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, Dick.
Yeah, you said that the Davis-Bacon requirement went away?
It goes away for, Councilmember Booth, it goes away for installers.
Installed.
And it's present for installers or anybody who actually touches a hammer, or works on the house. But for home heat pump advisors, it's not a requirement.
So the advisor that we're trying to fund, they don't have to do it, but if somebody Smock starts an installer room somewhere, they're gonna have to pay Davis-Bacon.
No, because that's hired between the homeowner and the contractor.
Which is why it's an incentive to the homeowner and not to the installer. So
Oh.
our original program, we were gonna do that. We were gonna set up a contract and say, if you qualify, we'll install the heat pump for you. But it would have been so expensive for us to do it that way that we would have been through the money
Mhm.
quickly, like only 3 people would have been helped. So this way, we have the assessor, which you need that assessment to qualify for the Southeast Conference money. And so since they're only assessing and giving you an incentive, then you as a personal individual hire the installer and you don't have to pay federal wages.
Okay, then you get reimbursed what you pay.
Right.
Well, it'll be paid back over time.
Yeah.
Because you save money.
Okay,
So all I can say is I hope it's not like some of the programs I've seen provided to village corporations and different things where the paperwork is so arduous to get there, people give up and they don't use it.
I
It's
think
gotta
this
be easy as sliced pie.
This is why we want the assessor, because they're gonna do all that legwork for them.
Thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes.
just a question. You're talking about a local hire for assessor and training. What's your timeline there before you start?
Assuming you guys approve this tonight, Councilmember, then my intent is to use that as an incentive to the DOE to say, hey, everybody's on board in town. What else do we need to do? What other hoops do we need to jump through? And so right now he said it was a 4-month process back in at the end of October. But I'm hoping to accelerate that.
Thank
So,
you.
Who would employ it?
Alaska Heat Smart.
Okay.
They would hire, find, and train. Apparently, he's already made some contacts with some folks here in Ketchikan.
Good. All right, any other questions? Hearing and seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Matani,
Yes.
Kistler,
Yes.
Coos,
yes.
Finnegan,
Yes.
Gas,
Yes.
Zingy,
Yes.
Flora.
Yes.
You?
That was our only item of new business, brings us to vouchers. Do we have any vouchers?
No, you're on.
Managers report.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I apologize for my delayed manager's report. I sent that out yesterday. I do want to update you a little bit more on the landslide situation over on Hillside. We have recently moved the Connex box that we were worried about falling. And what I want to make clear, and mostly for the public, not necessarily for council members, because I know you understand, this is private property and we are limited on what we can do to mitigate any more slides. So the Connex box, because it's so large, if that fell into the creek, that would cause a damming and possible flooding situation. It could have caused damage to the bridge as the creek underflows. So that one we took care of. The same with a fuel tank that's potentially on that edge. That's something that we don't want to have a full fuel tank fall into our water in the creek. So those are things we can take care of. There are some other items that could be impacted. There's like an outbuilding, but that's not really our responsibility. That's something the homeowner is going to have to eventually take responsibility for. So we're very careful on our public-private work and what we're doing and very limited in that sense. So our efforts are always going to be toward public safety, health, life, property, things like that. So we are limited in what we can do, but there are things that we can do. We're very happy to hear that the tension crack that we're seeing along that landslide is curving. And so that means it's curving away from our road. And that was our worry, that the tension crack would grow toward our road and compromise that road base. So we did get some information from our state geologist on how we could monitor that crack in the future and if it does impact our infrastructure. So there's not much we can do about private property. If that homeowner wants to do something about their piers or whatever they need for their property, that's really on the homeowner, but we are going to monitor for our road. So everything looks okay. Rick is going to move our EOC to a stage 3, which is a standby, just because we have a lot of rain coming in through the weekend. And so we just want to make sure we're keeping an eye out for debris.
So did you mention also that you're gonna do something with the trees?
Yes, we're working on that. Public Works is looking at that. We'll probably have to get a contractor to come in and top those trees. It's not, you're going to need harnesses and things like that to go in there. It's a pretty steep slope. We sent our Swiftwater team from the fire department to take care of some of the tree debris at the bottom of the creek, but it was accessible. They had the gear. We used it as a Swiftwater training, even though the water wasn't too bad. So we were able to address that, but the topping of the trees, we are going to have to go through a contractor. So Public Works is working on that also. Our first concern was the Connex box. We've got that scooted over a little bit. We haven't taken it anywhere. We just scooted it over out of the danger zone. Kara's working on the fuel tank, the trees, and that possible outbuilding on what we need to do to mitigate.
Any questions? Thank you. Anything else in your report that you want to?
Not now.
All right.
Yeah.
So are there any other questions on regard to the manager's report? Yes.
Just one small question on that. I know we have a lot of bucket trucks between the city and KPU. Is that topping those trees is not something that our public works can handle?
It may be, but we'll need the safety officer to go through and do an inspection first. Make sure it's within our safety. So it is possible, and that's something that they talked about as a possibility.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? Bring us down to council and committee report. Do we have any reports? We had a CEPA meeting. You had minutes on that.
I gave a little summary. I think the good news is the rate.
Yes, that's the best news. So there's no anticipation in rate increase in regards to this coming year due to increased revenues, and we contributed to that because we had Zulus down. Do we have anything from the city clerk's file?
Your Honor, we put an ad in the paper, but we have applications out there for the appointments in the city, in the planning commission for 2 city seats. We have to be a city resident. If anybody knows of anybody that would like to be on that committee, it is handled through the borough. Once we have the application or the information can be found on the city's website. Once we receive those applications, then the city council does have to approve that, and then it goes over to the borough assembly and they approve it. And the actual meetings are taking place at the borough offices. And it is, something you actually get paid for. It's not very much, but it's a little bit, just so the public's aware, but you do have to be a city resident to be, on that for our side anyway. And then our community agency grants have been out there for a month or so, our ads for that, and those are due in the clerk's office at City Hall by 5 o'clock on December 23rd. So more for the public out there, if you're planning on applying for any of our community grant, agency grants, they need to be in, brought to City Hall and City Clerk's office. And that's all I got, Your Honor.
Before we go any further, we should have a motion to pass a resolution in regards to transferring funds.
We already did that.
Okay, that's just fine. All right. All right, city attorney's file.
Your Honor.
Thank you. Future agenda items. I don't think they're gonna come forward at this time, but I think after the first year, there's a couple of requests, one for a policy and then one to start to look at the charter changes. And so, again, if any departments or council members have any ideas or concerns about what we want to do within the charter, if we have the opportunity to open it up, and fix some things, we should get that done at one time.
So, yeah, Your Honor, we'll have an agenda item with a resolution that has to be passed by the city council for
Correct.
before any charter changes can be made to consider a special, election.
Correct.
And
Yes,
if that-
I think maybe we need to have a work session before we come up with an agenda.
Yeah, right now, I think we're just listening information. It all has to come back to the council anyway in a list form, or how we're gonna do that, so we can start seeing what the interest is, what the items are, and how we're gonna view the effect of the city as a whole.
So if anybody on the council or at the city at large has suggestions or wants something on there, who do we contact?
City manager's office would be the place, or the clerk's office, one of the two.
Thank you.
Question on that, Your Honor?
Yes,
And so the way that process would work is once some things are identified, the changes that want to be made in the charter, the council would have to pass it and then it would go to the voters in the special elections, is that right?
that's correct. It'd have to go through all the legal process too, to make sure that we're doing everything in appropriation to how we're supposed to be working as a corporation, so incorporated city. But it is gonna go to a vote of the people who wrote it up at. And usually those are pretty long explanations and list
Yeah, 'cause
items,
it's a whole proposition.
the whole proposition to get it done.
But it does have to pass the council first.
Mayor and council comments. Anything?
I don't have anything, Your Honor.
Judy?
I have nothing, Your Honor.
Jay?
Just thank you to Public Works and everybody, the fire department, police department, KPU for being alert about the second net light and being sensitive to the property owner as well. So thank you.
Yeah.
Nothing from me, Your Honor.
Well, that,
Nothing.
Riley?
Just real quick comment on the deal we passed today. I think that's a good plan and I hope it's successful. The only thing I did want to add in that is that, you know, once a citizen gets their assessment done or whatever, they are still, you know, all the shops in town, I don't know if they technically are Davis-Bacon wages, but most of your shops in town that are going to be doing that are still way in excess of $100 an hour. So hopefully this position can get people actually connected with some of these grants and stuff. And it sounds like that's at least one part of what they want to do, but just an afterthought that it is still quite expensive to do that. So hopefully we can get our piece of that $38 million or whatever it is you were referencing.
Well, I think that, to me, as the way I understand it, a general contractor can install them, set them up for the concrete slabs, patch them to the wall, whatever. They could actually probably run the tubing and then they would have to be terminated probably by an electrician in the house to make sure it gets into the breaker panel correctly and all that kind of stuff. So,
On the refrigeration side is a pretty.
yeah, have somebody to charge them, right? Now the newer ones, there's some of them that are pre-charged, you just plug them together and they're supposed to do everything accordingly, but we'll see.
Pretty easy installation, well.
Thank you. So with that, we have item 15, which is an executive session. So request for an executive session, collective bargaining agreement between the city of Ketchikan and the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 1547. Do I have a motion?
Your Honor, I move the city council declare that consistent with the assistant city manager's recommendation, it is in the best interest of the city to discuss strategies relative to negotiation of a successor collective bargaining agreement between the city of and the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 1547, to replace the existing contract expiring December 31st, 2024 in executive session. In accordance with that finding, the city council go into executive session in accordance with KMC 2.04.025A1A to discuss said negotiations and subjects the knowledge of which would have an adverse impact upon the finances of the city and upon the city's ability to negotiate favorable labor agreements.
Second.
It has been moved and second. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Flora,
Yes.
Gas,
Abstain?
Finnegan,
Yes.
Coos,
Yep.
Kistler,
Yes.
Zingy,
Yep.
Matani.
With that, we will recess into executive session.
Yep.
All right, we're on. So we're back to order. We had discussions, gave management direction, that brings us to item B. Request for an executive session to discuss strategies relative to the negotiations of work fee use agreements between the city of Ketchikan, Cruise Line International, and Association of Alaska. Do I have a motion, please?
Your Honor, I move the city council declare that consistent with the city manager's recommendation, it is in the best interest of the city to discuss strategies relative to negotiation of a new workers fee use agreement between the city of Ketchikan and CLIA in executive session. In accordance with that recommendation, the city council go into executive session with KMC 2.04.025A1 to discuss said negotiations and subjects to the knowledge of which would have an adverse impact on finances of the city and upon city's ability to negotiate a favorable agreement.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Gas,
Yes.
Zingy,
Yes.
Flora,
Yes.
Matani,
Yes.
Kistler,
Yes.
Coos,
Yep.
Finnegan.
Yes.
We'll recess into
The budget.
We'll come back to order. We again met in executive session, gave direction, and we're moving on to item C, request of executive session, city general manager Delilah Walsh, leadership staffing. Do I have a motion?
Your Honor, I move the city council declare it is in the best interest of the city to meet with the city/general manager Walsh regarding employment matters in executive session in accordance with KMC 2.04.025A1 and 2, which may involve matters the immediate knowledge of which would clearly have an adverse effect upon the finances of the city and discussion of subjects that tend to prejudice the reputation and character of any person, provided the person may request a public discussion.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Luce.
Yeah.
Kistler.
Yes.
Matani.
Yes.
Flora.
Yes.
Zingy.
Yes.
Gas.
Yes.
Finnegan.
Yes.
With that, we will recess and.
You're down.
Pencil in the room?
Realize.
It's just weird.
Okay, we're good.
We met in executive session, had discussions, gave direction, and we're through with that. So now we're on to the next item of business.
I think we're done now.
That's what I thought. I was looking for the motion.
Adjourn.
All those opposed, hearing and seeing none, we stand adjourned.